country grasslands has become a priority for those who care about wildlife. Tonight we'll show you some of the history and look toward the future of this very special place. Next we'll take you to one of the greatest shows on dirt, the 2007 Outdoor Expo, where you can play hard, learn a little, and just have a rockin' good time. There's nothing more thrilling than seeing wildlife in their natural habitat. So in our first story, we'll show you some of the things you can do and places you can go to improve your chances of spotting wild animals. All this and more right now on Arizona Wildlife Views.
As you look into the spotting scope, the jewel-like colors of a hummingbird capture your eye. Are you exploring a Mexican forest? No. The whistling bugle of a rutting bull elk has just shattered the icy morning silence. Are you camping in the Canadian Rockies? No again. The antics of a kangaroo rat have entertained you all morning. Are you hiking in the Utah desert? Closer, but no. You are in Arizona, where the wildlife watching is as grand as the sunsets are beautiful. Arizona wildlife watchers know the Grand Canyon State is a special place to watch wildlife. Bowled over by bats, Arizona boasts 28 species. Fascinated by snakes? We have 52 species, including 13 species of rattlesnakes. Wildlife watching takes place in wild scenery. A herd of javelina wander among the prickly pear. A shy desert bighorn sheep drinks from the Colorado River. A mule deer peers around a towering ponderosa pine. A herd of wide-eyed pronghorns sprint across the open grassland. Arizona is a gorgeous place to watch wildlife.
Native wildlife significantly adds to the quality of your life. Since Arizona has one of the most diverse populations of wildlife and wildlife habitats within the U.S., our opportunities to watch and learn more about our wild neighbors are as diverse as the state is itself.
To help people better understand the importance of wildlife and to teach them ways to improve their wildlife watching skills, the Arizona Game and Fish Department holds numerous workshops like this one at the Sipe White Mountain Wildlife Area in northeastern Arizona. Tonight, Bruce Sitko from the Pinetop Regional Office is giving some tips to this group of wildlife watchers before he leads them on a hike to an open meadow that is frequented by elk. Hike being the operative word here. Getting outdoors with the goal to see wildlife is a wonderful opportunity to enjoy the beauty Arizona has to offer and to escape the comfort of your couch for a while. There are a number of things you can do to improve your odds of seeing large mammals like elk and deer. Make sure you're out when the animals are out, which means dawn and dusk. During the middle of the day, they're usually bedded down out of sight. When you walk along a trail, walk quietly and move slowly. Animals will run away if they hear too much noise. If you've found a good area to sit and wait for wildlife to appear, wear muted colors or camouflage. They have very sharp eyes and can spot a flash of white from a great distance. Whatever state you are traveling in, be sure to pick up a local wildlife viewing guide. They are packed with great information on what you can expect to see in that area. And make sure you have a good spotting scope or binoculars. That will bring the wildlife in close without disturbing them. The Arizona Game and Fish Department works diligently to help the people of Arizona connect with the wildlife around them. This is the 5th annual High Country Hummers event where folks can come and observe, as improbable as it sounds, the capture and banding of hummingbirds.
The program here at Sipe is an educational program just so people have a chance to see the different hummingbirds and get a feel for what hummingbird banding is all about. We do look for the recaptures, and last year we did retrap a bird that we'd caught the year before.
Look at the shapes and colors of those tail feathers. Aren't they beautiful? Yeah. Very handsome birds. They don't call them broadtail for nothing.
We've banded about 8,000 hummingbirds over the last 17 years. And the last few years we've been banding 400 or 500 a year. You know, when someone says to me, I talk with other hummingbird banders and they say, oh, we banded 1,000 birds on this project. To me, I think, wow, they made 1,000 bands, because that's the hard part, is making the bands. Banding the birds is gravy, but it's making the bands that's hard work. So they're tiny, tiny little bands.
But before you can attach the tiny, tiny little bands, you have to capture the tiny, tiny little birds. So a soft mesh bonnet is placed over a feeder, and when the hummingbirds come in for what looks like an easy lunch, the curtain is dropped by remote control and the birds are trapped.
In the trap, the little apron that comes down, there are no weights on that little apron. There's a little rattan band that goes around it about 2 inches high. So the little mesh can fall on a bird and it will not injure the bird. If the bird is in the trap and flies into the bottom of the mesh, it can actually move the mesh aside and fly out and escape from the net. The whole issue of this trap is not to harm the bird, and so that the trap is made to let birds escape rather than to injure birds. Today we've just seen the 3 kinds of hummingbirds. We've seen the calliopes, which are the smallest species of hummingbirds in North America. We're seeing the rufous, and we're seeing the broadtail. The rufous and the calliope are migrating through. The broadtail is a resident bird and will nest in this area. Number-wise, we've taken about 40 birds over to be banded. We are probably only catching about 10% of the birds that are coming to the feeder.
Information gathered from the captured birds helps investigators gain a better understanding of the hummingbird's life and how to help protect them in the future.
There are some real challenges in hummingbird conservation. They've got to not only have a place to spend the winter and a place to spend the summer, but they've got to have a migration corridor in between. And so we're working with our partners down in Mexico on wintering habitat, and working with people up here, planting their yards with hummingbird flowers and making their yard attractive to hummingbirds, and just kind of doing the best we can for the birds that are out there.
Yes, these little jewels of a bird migrate, sometimes thousands of miles on what seems like an impossible journey.
The little rufous are actually coming from as far north as Alaska and British Columbia, and they're flying down to South America. The calliopes don't move quite so far, but they're coming from basically the northern United States down into Mexico. The broadtails will move south, but they do build nests and they summer here. If we took that in size-wise, flying from British Columbia to South America, that'd be like us trying to walk probably to Mars or something like that.
There are a number of misconceptions that have grown up around hummingbirds. I've heard everything from, do they ride on the backs of geese? They don't ride on the backs of geese. To, oh, I don't want to leave my feeder up because then they won't migrate when they're supposed to. Well, they're smarter than that. They will migrate when they need to migrate. So leaving your feeder up is not going to impact that. In fact, some of the late birds coming through may need a little bit of extra help. So you can just leave your feeder up until you're no longer seeing hummingbirds around, and then take your feeder down, put it back up early in the spring as they're coming back. In southeastern Arizona, we leave our feeders up year-round, and we have hummingbirds visiting in the middle of winter. I've had to go up occasionally and thaw out the feeder so that the hummingbirds can come in and get the nectar mix unfrozen. But in most places, the hummingbirds are gone by late fall. You can take your feeders down until the following spring.
Besides gathering information about the hummingbirds, this event is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to let birds and people come together. After the birds have been banded, they're placed in the hand of a willing participant where the birds rest until they decide to fly away on their own. Sometimes they even stay around long enough for a photograph.
Wonderful. It's exciting.
You say you got them around your house?
Yeah, we have 3 feeders and we feed them all the time.
You see the remnants, so she's been fed. Whoa!
Hummingbirds do hold a fascination for a lot of people that would never call themselves bird watchers. There are people that are fascinated with hummingbirds, and I don't know whether it's the small size, whether it's the bright iridescent colors, whether it's their fearlessness. All of those sorts of things kind of appeal to us. But there are people around the world that are fascinated by hummingbirds. Hummingbirds only occur in the New World, but we've had people from Japan and Europe and Australia that come over specifically to see hummingbirds in the New World. They're just amazing little creatures.
When it took off, I could feel the wind push off, I could feel it like almost jump out of my hand. It was really cool. I adopted it.
Oh, you adopted it?
You pay $25, you get to name it, and you get something in the mail when they catch it again.
Cool. What'd you name yours?
I named mine Billy.
If the idea of this event was to connect people and wildlife in a personal way, well, you can't get more personal than having your own wild hummingbird named Billy.
On April 7, 1886, David and Billy Babbitt stepped off the train in Flagstaff, Arizona, seeking their fame and fortune. What they also found was a deep and lasting respect for this new land they would call home. A view from the top of the San Francisco mountains revealed grasslands as far as the eye could see to the north. With the purchase of 1,200 head of cattle and a portion of that grassland, the brothers took on a new adventure and a new promise to love and protect the land. 120 years later, and the Babbitts have played a huge role in the economic, civic, and cultural development of Flagstaff. They have excelled as leaders in conservation and environmental science. In 2001, they set aside 41,000 acres of their Cataract Ranch for open space. This agreement with the Nature Conservancy and Coconino County created Arizona's largest conservation easement and protected the ranch lands from being developed. In 2003, Babbitt Ranches received the National Private Lands Fish and Wildlife Stewardship Award from the International Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies. The Babbitts of the 21st century carry on the spirit of adventure, exploration, and love of the land. Currently, they operate the CO Bar, Cataract, and SB ranches. But Arizona grasslands are under attack, and large ranches like the Babbitts are prime targets for developers who chop them into 10 to 40 acre ranchettes, which fragment wildlife habitat and decrease overall wildlife values. In Arizona today, native grasslands with low shrub cover are now found on less than 7 million acres, a third of what used to be here. Large tracts of grasslands are dying off, victims of our ever-increasing population desiring to escape the heat of the desert floor. And while large tracts of grasslands are sold off, our native wildlife gets pushed further and further away. Arizona is the fastest growing state in the nation, and securing open spaces for wildlife and access for hunting is becoming increasingly harder each day.
Open space in Arizona is a very important commodity. We have sensitive ecosystems that are under pressure for development. Arizona is one of the most rapidly growing states in the nation, and we feel it's very important to make sure that we have the ability to preserve some of these unique habitats.
Those remaining grasslands in Arizona have been evaluated and prioritized to determine high-quality native rangeland. One of the high-priority areas in northern Arizona lies south of the Grand Canyon and northwest of Flagstaff. Right in the middle of this green priority area is the Babbitt Ranch's SB Ranch. 99,000 acres of primarily mixed grassland, the SB is a working cattle ranch and home to pronghorn antelope, majestic elk, and some very impressive mule deer, as well as an assemblage of grassland birds. Babbitt Ranches is committed to improving and conserving the lands they control. One very important way to make sure these lands are secured for the future is to place them into a conservation easement. Conservation easements provide a mechanism to continue the long tradition of ranching,
while at the same time securing open space forever and providing guaranteed public access for recreation. It's a win-win for the rancher, for wildlife, and for the people of the state.
In this case, the development rights on the SB Ranch would prohibit development on those lands.
Coconino County is going to hold the development rights on that property. But in addition to that, the Arizona Game and Fish Department is going to hold what is going to be called a public access easement. And in that public access easement, the Arizona Game and Fish Department, along with its commission, will adopt through time rules and regulations which will affect those properties from everything from big game hunting to the reintroduction of endangered species to recreational uses and research.
Another important aspect of the SB Ranch is that it is home to large colonies of Gunnison's prairie dogs. In 1921, there were over 5 million acres of prairie dog towns surveyed in north-central Arizona. By 2001, only a little over 11,000 acres of occupied towns were found. Much of this acreage occurs on the SB Ranch.
The SB Ranch is unique because it has large contiguous prairie dog colonies that are dense enough to support a population of black-footed ferrets. This summer we mapped the complexes and determined that there were 29,000 acres of prairie dog colonies, and of the 29,000 acres, 13,000 acres were considered high-quality habitat.
The presence of prairie dog towns offers a unique opportunity as another reintroduction site for the endangered black-footed ferret.
The department began reintroducing black-footed ferrets in the Aubrey Valley outside of Seligman, Arizona in 1996 after they investigated prairie dog colonies across the state. In 2006, we trapped up 46 unique individuals.
While the black-footed ferret is one of the success stories of recovery in Arizona under the Endangered Species Act, additional release sites are needed to secure their future.
A second reintroduction site in Arizona is important because it would help ensure the long-term survival of this species. And on a national level, another reintroduction site is important because it would contribute to the overall national recovery effort.
All in all, the need to preserve large tracts of grassland habitat in Arizona is great, and SB Ranch offers a unique chance to permanently secure nearly 100,000 acres of this precious habitat.
It's a win-win for ranchers, it's a win-win for wildlife, and it's a win-win for the state to preserve its unique open spaces.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department started the Expo event in 2004 as a way to celebrate Arizona's outdoor heritage and the magnificent outdoor recreational opportunities. Visitors enjoyed hunting, fishing, watchable wildlife exhibits, archery, shooting sports, off-highway vehicle, and much, much more.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department started this event several years ago to celebrate Arizona's outdoor heritage. The first year we brought just over 1,000 people, and now several years later we're up to just under 20,000 people attending this event. During the Expo, people get to enjoy activities such as hunting, shooting, fishing, boating education, off-highway vehicle, watchable wildlife, and many more activities.
Hands down, what makes this event stand out from other outdoor expos and trade shows is the number of exciting hands-on activities offered for people of all ages.
At the Expo, we have lots of exhibitors, workshops, and demonstrations. What all the visitors tell us they like best about the event is all the hands-on activities. The kids and families are a big focus of the Expo, and they're the key to outdoor future.
The Expo is a great place to try out the latest firearms from different manufacturers. You can do it right here in a safe, controlled environment on the shooting range.
Thank you.
Put a huge smile on your child's face. The Family Fun Adventures area is always a popular destination place for families. Watch as they land their first fish, hit a target with a .22, or let that first arrow fly away.
Oh, yeah!
If off-highway vehicle recreation is more your style, you can test drive a quad on the ATV course, watch exciting rock crawler demonstrations, or take a workshop on responsible OHV use. The kids oohed and awed over all the live critters on display: snakes, eagles, owls, even an alligator visiting from out of town. The Expo is held on the grounds of the Ben Avery Shooting Facility. At 1,600 acres, Ben Avery Range is the largest publicly owned recreational shooting facility in the country.
I think this is the finest shooting facility that I've ever seen by far in the United States. I haven't done much across the world, but I understand this is one of the very, very top in the whole world.
Kids and adults both soon discover that outdoor recreation is fun. They can learn the best archery techniques or how to shoot trap, skeet, or sporting clays. They can walk the hunter course and learn how to identify wildlife or the best way to set up and clean up a camp area. State championship youth events in sporting clays and archery provide both entertainment and inspiration. Some kids even got to audition to be guest host for a day on the Arizona Game and Fish Department's Arizona Wildlife Use television show. And everyone wants to shoot the Gatling gun.
This event is only going to grow in popularity. Arizona has a population of over 6 million people, and the Expo offers a great opportunity for them to come out and get interested in outdoor recreation.
Vendors from across the state gave this year's event very high marks.
Well, we are out here to get our name out to the public, enjoy the Expo. It's a fantastic event. We've had quite a wonderful turnout here. The clientele, the people here are just amazing. They've been very friendly, very receptive to us.
We're doing fantastic. It's been great. A lot of good people coming through. Hundreds and hundreds of people stop by the booth each day. It's been fantastic.
So it's a good exhibit. There's quite a few tents. There's a lot of food vendors. It's quite an opportunity for people to come down here and enjoy themselves.
This is our third year here at the Arizona Game and Fish event. Each year it's getting better and better and growing in numbers, and we see a lot of new shooters, which is really important to us because that's our future generation. We think it's an outstanding event, and the fact that there's no charge for people to come out and shoot.
Plans are underway for next year's event. Check our webpage at azgfd.gov for more details.
The Expo rocks. We'll be back each year, and every year you guys have it, we'll be out here.
This particular exhibit is a first time for me, and so I look forward to going to the exhibits in the future.
Well, all I can say is this Expo is fantastic. I think you can see us being a driving force out here for several years to come.
The ringtail is a fascinating species. It can leap like a squirrel, and its sharp claws make climbing walls or trees a snap. When it feels threatened or gets into a fight, the ringtail screams and secretes a foul-smelling fluid intended to distract its enemy. Ringtails are relatively small animals with trim bodies. Back in frontier times, ringtails were released in the mines to control rodents, earning the nickname miner's cat. Its scientific name actually means clever little fox. In fact, the ringtail is neither a cat nor a fox, but rather a close relative of the raccoon. The head is small, ears are large with little hair. The tail is bushy though, and about as long as the head and body combined. In Arizona, you can see ringtails just about anywhere, but their favorite spots are rocky areas below 6,000 foot elevation. Ringtails make a narrow den and pad it with moss, grass, or leaves, and it sleeps during the day. But at night, the ringtail ambushes its prey, forcing the unlucky victim down with its forepaws and delivering a fatal bite to the neck. Its nocturnal habits, combined with its natural shyness, make the ringtail a rare sight in the wild. Its varied diet includes grasshoppers and crickets, small mammals such as rats, mice, squirrels, and rabbits, including carrion, also small birds and fruits such as persimmons, hackberries, juniper, and mistletoe. It will also eat spiders, scorpions, centipedes, snakes, lizards, frogs, and toads. Ringtails mate in early April and have a litter of 2 to 4 young being born in late May to early June. After about 3 or 4 weeks, the male will join its mate in bringing food to the den for the offspring. The ringtail is an important part of the circle of life and has earned the status of state mammal here in Arizona.
For more information about anything you've seen on tonight's program, go to our website, azgfd.gov.